Many people first met the Baudelaire orphans through the Netflix series, three brilliant kids hunted by a villain and caught in a series of tragedies. But what we saw on screen didn't always match what was written in the books. There are details, characters, and plot twists that the show either changed or added. That's why today, we're diving into the first 4 books of the saga: The Bad Beginning, The Reptile Room, The Wide Window, and The Miserable Mill. This is the original story of a series of unfortunate events. The story begins at Briny Beach, a gray, quiet place where the Baudelaire children are enjoying a rare moment of peace. Violet, the eldest, is 14 and has a brilliant mind for inventing things. Klaus, 12, is a passionate reader with an incredible memory for useful facts. Sunny, the youngest, barely speaks, but she has razor-sharp teeth and uses them with surprising skill. That day, as they walk along the shore, Mr. Poe shows up, the banker who not only manages their family fortune, but also decides who will take care of them. His news changes everything. Their parents have died in a fire that also destroyed their home. With no close relatives to take them in, the Baudelaire children are sent to live with a distant relative named Count Olaf. No one really knows who he is, and when they arrive at his house, they find a filthy, run-down place covered in eye symbols that seem to watch them. Olaf is tall, scruffy, and sports a single eyebrow that gives him a creepy look. From the very beginning, he treats them with coldness and cruelty. He gives them a miserable room with only one bed and forces them to do exhausting housework. There's no kindness, only orders. His interest in the children's inheritance is obvious, and they soon realize that their new guardian has no good intentions. Things get worse every day. The siblings are treated like servants, forced to clean, cook, and work non-stop. Still, they find a small refuge in their neighbor, Judge Strauss, a kind woman who lets them use her library. There, Klaus finds comfort in books, while Violet gets the space to think clearly. Although Strauss is unaware of how badly they're being treated, her presence gives them a brief moment of relief. Amid the mistreatment, the siblings stick together, using their wits and looking for a way out. One day, Olaf announces that he's hosting a dinner party for his theater troupe and demands the children prepare a feast for 10 people, including roasted meat. With no ingredients or experience, they turn to Judge Strauss, who lends them her kitchen and offers an alternative recipe. They prepare pasta instead, but Olaf is furious when he sees it's not what he asked for. He strikes Klaus and threatens even worse harm. The violence becomes harder to ignore, and the children realize they are in real danger. Soon after, Olaf informs them that they'll be taking part in a play called The Marvelous Marriage, in which Violet will play the bride. Klaus, suspecting something is off, does some research in the library and uncovers Olaf's true plan. He's trying to marry Violet for real during the play. Legally, if someone signs a marriage document in front of a judge and witnesses, it can be valid, even if it's part of a theatrical performance. Olaf wants to exploit this legal loophole to get his hands on the Baudelaire fortune. When Klaus confronts him, Olaf kidnaps Sunny and locks her in a cage hanging from the tower, forcing the siblings to go along with the plan. The threat is real, and the children find themselves in a desperate situation. The night of the play arrives. The audience, including Mr. Poe and Judge Strauss, suspects nothing. The performance unfolds exactly as Olaf planned, and Violet signs the marriage document. But in a clever twist, she reveals she signed with her left hand. Since Violet is right-handed, the signature isn't legally valid. Judge Strauss confirms the legal loophole has failed, ruining Olaf's plan. In the chaos, Olaf tries to flee with Sunny, but is stopped. Still, he manages to escape with his theater troupe, leaving the Baudelaires safe, but with no answers. After escaping Count Olaf, the Baudelaire orphans are sent by Mr. Poe to live with a new guardian, Dr. Montgomery, a kind, slightly eccentric herpetologist who studies reptiles and amphibians. His home is on Lousy Lane, a place where everything reeks of horseradish. From the start, Dr. Monty, as they affectionately call him, offers something that once seemed impossible: warmth, respect, and a real home, where each child gets their own room. He serves them coconut cream cake and encourages them to explore the house, including his impressive reptile collection. In the famous Reptile Room, the children discover fascinating creatures, including a newly discovered snake called the incredibly deadly viper. The name is misleading. The snake is actually harmless and playful. Monty gives each of the kids a role to help prepare for his upcoming expedition to Peru. Violet will design traps to capture new species, Klaus will research reptiles, and Sunny, using her sharp teeth, will cut ropes. For the first time since losing their parents, the Baudelaires finally feel like they can breathe again. There's room for joy, for peace, for hope. But that peace is shattered with the arrival of Stefano, Monty's supposed new assistant. They recognize him right away. It's Count Olaf in disguise, with a fake beard and no trace of his distinctive unibrow. They try to warn Monty, but Olaf is clever and manipulates the situation. Monty, confused, believes Stefano is a spy from the Herpetological Society trying to steal his research. He decides to fire him, but only after they return from a movie outing, unaware of the much greater danger he's in. While watching Zombies in the Snow, Monty gets a coded message warning him about Stefano. But he doesn't manage to fully decode it before being interrupted. Back home, he confronts Stefano and tells him he won't be going with them on the trip to Peru. The children are relieved until the next morning, when they find Monty's lifeless body in the reptile room. Stefano claims he was bitten by a venomous snake called the mamba do mal and insists on taking the children to Peru immediately. But the Baudelaires are sure this was murder. They're determined to expose him before he gets away with it. When Stefano tries to flee with the kids in his car, he crashes into Mr. Poe's vehicle, forcing everyone to return to the house. As usual, Poe is skeptical and refuses to believe the children without solid proof. Stefano calls in an expert, Dr. Lucafont, to examine the body. He confirms the bite from the mamba do mal, but the kids are convinced the whole thing is staged. Violet, Klaus, and Sunny come up with a plan. Klaus and Sunny pretend to have an encounter with the incredibly deadly viper to create a distraction, while Violet sneaks off to search Stefano's luggage. Inside his suitcase, she finds a syringe and a vial labeled with the snake's name. Solid proof Monty was poisoned. With this evidence, Mr. Poe is finally convinced. He wipes away the makeup on Stefano's ankle, revealing the eye tattoo that identifies Olaf. But before they can capture him, Olaf escapes once again, with help from the so-called Dr. Lucafont, the expert who confirmed the cause of death. As it turns out, Lucafont isn't who he claims to be. He's the hook-handed man, one of Olaf's most dangerous henchmen, disguised to infiltrate the scene and help his boss escape. Once again, the Baudelaires are left alone, this time mourning the loss of someone who truly cared for them. After the tragic loss of Dr. Montgomery, the Baudelaire orphans are sent to live with a new guardian, Aunt Josephine. Her house sits on the edge of a cliff, overlooking the vast, eerie Lake Lachrymose, a place she avoids at all costs. While she seems kind, Josephine is completely ruled by fear. She's terrified of real estate agents, glass doors, stoves, telephones, and worst of all, the lake, which she insists is infested with leeches. Her life is ruled by absurd fears and an obsession with grammar, making her home feel strange and far from comforting. Despite her odd behavior, the Baudelaires try to adjust. Violet keeps inventing, Klaus gets lost in books, and Sunny chews on anything she can get her teeth on. But soon, the children sense that something is off. Josephine constantly talks about her late husband Ike, a brave sailor who died in a mysterious storm. The kids start to wonder if his death was really an accident. Josephine's sadness and fear seem to be hiding something deeper, and her behavior becomes more unstable by the day. Tension builds with the arrival of a man calling himself Captain Sham, a so-called sailor with a wooden leg and a phony smile. The Baudelaires recognize him immediately. It's Count Olaf in disguise. They try to warn Aunt Josephine, but she doesn't believe them. She thinks Sham is a real estate agent and totally panics. Not long after, she disappears without a trace, leaving behind a note claiming she jumped into the lake out of fear. But the kids don't buy it. They know their aunt too well to believe she'd willingly go near the water. The note Josephine left is full of grammar mistakes, something completely out of character for someone so obsessed with proper language. Klaus examines it and realizes it's a coded message. The note reveals Josephine is alive and hiding in Curdled Cave, a place she used to visit in secret. The siblings decide to find her, risking the dangers of the lake and the deadly leeches. They manage to find her, but she's terrified and refuses to come back. Meanwhile, Olaf, still pretending to be Captain Sham, has convinced Mr. Poe that he's the children's new legal guardian and is planning to take them away to seize their fortune. Josephine finally agrees to go back with them, but Olaf quickly regains control. He forces them onto a boat in the middle of a violent storm, intending to throw them into the lake. In that moment, Violet comes up with a plan. While Klaus and Sunny distract Olaf, she rewrites a document he wants them to sign, hiding a secret message inside. Thanks to her quick thinking, they manage to escape on a makeshift raft, leaving the villain behind once again. The story ends with the Baudelaires drifting on the lake, with no clear direction. They've lost yet another adult who, while flawed, had at least offered some form of protection. After the tragic loss of Aunt Josephine, the Baudelaire orphans are sent to a place seemingly designed to crush any last shred of hope, the Lucky Smells lumber mill in the dismal town of Paltryville. There, under the care of a man known only as Sir, the children are forced to work as employees. Sir never shows his face, always hidden behind a constant cloud of cigar smoke. His business partner, Charles, is kind, but lacks the courage to stand up to the injustice happening all around them. Their sleeping quarters are cold, bare, and utterly devoid of comfort. The workdays are long and exhausting, and the children are forced to follow strict rules while cutting logs, surrounded by deafening machines and indifferent adults. In the midst of this gray and joyless environment, they meet Phil, an overly optimistic worker who tries to see the bright side of everything, even after losing a leg in an accident. Phil tells them about a mysterious symbol, an eye that appears in different places and may be linked to a secret society that helps orphans. But what truly alarms the Baudelaires is Klaus's sudden change in behavior. He begins acting strangely, blindly obeying orders, repeating nonsense, and forgetting what he's done. Violet and Sunny soon discover the truth. Klaus has been hypnotized by Dr. Georgina Orwell, an eerie optometrist with unsettling methods. The children realize that not only is Klaus in danger, but so is everyone else working there. Things take an even darker turn with the arrival of a new figure, Shirley, Dr. Orwell's so-called secretary. But the Baudelaires aren't fooled. Beneath the ridiculous disguise, they recognize Count Olaf once again. This time, his plan is to force Violet to marry Sir, using hypnosis and legal confusion to get his hands on the Baudelaire fortune. Everything has been carefully orchestrated, and Klaus, still under Orwell's control, is powerless to help. Violet knows she can't afford to make a mistake. At the crucial moment, when she's handed the marriage papers, she signs with her left hand. Since she's right-handed, the signature is invalid. It's a small gesture, but just enough to ruin the plan. In the chaos that follows, the children expose Olaf and uncover the twisted alliance between Sir and Dr. Orwell. The truth comes out, and both adults are arrested. They leave the lumber mill behind, a place that never felt like home. The Baudelaires move on, not knowing where they'll go next, but fully aware that Olaf is still out there. The eye symbol appears once more, a reminder that something much bigger is at play. Maybe a secret network, maybe clues about their parents. But for now, all they have is their cleverness, their bond, and the determination to keep moving forward. As the smoke from Lucky Smells fades into the distance, the siblings walk into the unknown. They've survived yet another of Olaf's schemes, faced machines, hypnosis, and adults who failed to protect them. And even though the road ahead is full of danger, they refuse to give in. Because each step brings them closer to the truth, and because, even in the most miserable of places, there are still moments of light, ones only they know how to find.